Hi, and welcome to the Language Lie.
A podcast about idioms.
I'm Ingrid.
I'm Casey.
How you doing, Casey?
Doing great. Doing quite well.
Oh, you get doubled down on that. I'm glad.
Double down.
Nice.
How are you
We're all
doing?
adjusting to some daylight savings time.
Oh yeah.
Cloudy,
6
rainy
a.m.
day. The weather has doubled down on the daylight savings time.
Mm-hmm.
hmm I think we should bring some sunny idiom action into this.
Oh,
Casey, I didn't realize it. I've picked an appropriate idiom for the day.
it's raining out in case anyone is
Yes.
if that's not clear on anyone.
Do you want to guess some rain-related idioms?
Are you doing It's Raining Cats and Dogs again? Because that was our first episode.
I figured we needed to revisit it.
Because I know what that one's about.
It is our most well listened to episode.
Really? I thought you took it
Mhm.
down.
I did. I mean,
Ingrid's
historically, it
all
was.
about self-sabotage. Uh, I okay, so the question was, can I guess the idiom? Is this a new segment?
Yeah, of all of the
You have
idioms.
to guess the idiom.
No,
Then you have to
it's
guess the origin of the
so
idiom.
it's going to be a rain related idiom.
All I can think of it's raining cat is
It's
it's
cats and
raining cats and
dogs.
dogs.
If
Yeah,
that one
sorry.
got stuck in your head. I
Um
think that's the most popular idiom. Whenever you ask anyone what an idiom is, they actually say that one. Even no more guesses.
no, I don't have a brain right now, so
All right. Well, it's going to be hard to record a podcast with you without a brain. If you could put Bruiser on,
sure.
perhaps they can record with him. He
Yeah.
probably has feelings about
He has a
rain.
lot of feelings right now.
So this idiom is right as rain.
Oh, right as rain. Yeah.
It's a
That's what
sweet little
that was gonna
idiom.
be my second guess.
I when a friend suggested this to me, I was like, I want to believe that this has some sort of beautiful story to it. Doesn't it seem like it would be a beautiful idiom?
Yeah, I feel like the first time I ever interacted with this idiom, it was in some movie that I saw when I was a teen, and like it was this wise old woman that said, like, "Oh, it's rad as rain," and I was like, "Oh my God, are you my mom?" Um,
Oh wow, do you need to take a pause and unpack a lot of what just happened there?
no, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm therapy tomorrow.
I love that you
uh,
always schedule it after we talk.
um, yeah, it's a great idiom.
Do you know what it means?
That's a great question. I would say it all is as it should be.
Hmm.
It's right as rain, right? It's just like it's correct. It's in the time. It's there when it should be. It is what it needs to be at the time.
That's a really lovely way to describe it.
Stop, stop gaslighting me.
You had to make it negative. I That's kind of how I think about it as well. However, when I looked it up on
Oh
Merriam-Webster, it
no,
just
it's wrong.
their definition is merely as that in excellent health or condition.
Hmm.
But then when you look it up on Urban Dictionary and some other spots, it says healthy, feeling well, or satisfactory, a good outcome to
So
describe a
it's
situation that's been sorted out or turned out okay.
huh. So it's talking about like the physical health of a human being or creature.
Yes, a lot of places described it as merely involved in physical health. Though I
Oh,
frequently think of it as a situation that is
yeah.
has had a good outcome.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I've never thought about it from a place of like a health thing.
Well,
Wow.
that's the great thing about language,
None of it
ever
makes any
evolving.
sense.
Anybody, I would love if you wrote in and told us what you think this is usually. But um, so Urban Dictionary also says that you can believe it to be true and
Hmm.
or a common response to the comeback, yeah, right. So they give an example of that as dad says, better watch it or I'm going to make you come home early. And the kid says, yeah, right. And the dad says, right as rain, buddy. It was really threatening. And I
Also,
don't know that
like,
I,
I'm still picturing that old woman from the South being like, red as rain, buddy. And I'm like, okay.
okay, I'll get home on time. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
yeah.
Um,
Interesting.
but some other examples I found were, I see you're really sick with the flu. Please get some rest and I'll bring you some chicken soup. Then you'll be right as rain. But the second one there is, she had a lot of challenges in school, but she studied really hard. So by graduation, everything was right as rain.
So that's situational.
Mm-hmm.
That's both health and situational.
Yes. Yeah. So one of the first sources I found, and do you want to guess where this comes from? Sorry, to
Yes, I
follow
guess
our
I
format.
have to. Yes.
Yes. Make up
I'm
a
just kind of
story. Spin
okay.
us a tale here, Mr. Right as Rain.
I think that in my head, the concept is that similar to like snow, and that it kind of blankets all of the less thans that we see kind of about in the world. And that first like snowfall, it's just like completely clear and nice. Everything's really pretty. Similar to that, like rain has an effect of cleaning, right? It washes surfaces essentially, and taking away any like issues or blunders is not right, blemishes that exist on a surface. A heavy rain or any kind of rain would really kind of wipe that away. And so that
Wow.
is kind of how I have historically thought of like this is where it came from. Not that I've ever really analyzed this idiom before, but
As we frequently don't in
yeah,
many of the things that we say.
yeah. But in my thinking, like to wash away all of the imperfections.
That's such a beautiful way to think about it.
Completely wrong.
Thanks for providing what I wanted
Yeah.
out of this idiom, which was this lovely meaning. Um, and I think it's hilarious that here in Texas, I would never think of rain as a cleansing thing. It's always like, there will be a catastrophe.
Mm,
Something crazy is going to happen. But I like that view. It's not at all where it comes
yeah.
from. But yeah. And also to have like non-catastrophic snow, that would also be really nice. So one of the first sources that I found about the meaning or the actual origin of this was from The Guardian. But I read that article, and at the end of the article, there's a scandal here, Casey. The end of the article, there was a notation that said
Psych.
Michael Quinian. Do you remember who Michael Quinian is?
By name.
He's the editor of our beloved Worldwide Words, the
Oh,
website
oh
where
no, did he die?
he didn't die. No,
Oh,
goodness.
because he was sick.
Oh, that's right. I remember you saying that. He did stop updating his
Yeah.
website in 2017. Have you ever gone to the index of that website?
No.
Y'all, if you want to research some fun things about words, just
Don't though, because
everything.
then we're out of a job.
I don't think anyone could ever read all of the things that are in that index. And if you got to the end, you'd probably have forgotten them all anyways. Um, so
Oh my God. I'm looking at it now. My God. Jeez. Also,
there's everything that you can think
okay.
of, but except not. He stopped writing. If you go to the homepage of that website, he stopped writing in 2017 because he was just like, I've been doing this for so long, but I think that there's plenty here. And I was like, you are correct. So that Guardian article, they had kind of an original, someone had written in with this question and someone answered it. And then they had this notation at the end that said, Michael Quinian, the editor of the World Wide Words website, has been in touch with The Guardian to point out that the answer above attributed to, and I'm not going to say this person's name because we shouldn't cite a plagiarist, is actually a piece that he wrote in 2000 for his site. Technical issues mean that we cannot currently remove or amend this answer without deleting the entire contents of this page. So instead, we are posting this note underneath to credit Mr. Quinian with the authorship of the answer above and to provide a
Wow.
link to the original version.
Wow.
Isn't that remarkable?
Wow. They just straight up plagiarized it.
Yeah. Isn't that, I mean, I
I
was just
wish that
like,
I didn't care enough to do stuff like that.
right? Those are the people who were
And they win. They
getting
always do
ahead.
well in life. Like, oh, you just plagiarized a few things. That's fine. You're fired from this job, but you'll find another. Um, wow, that's crazy.
um, so now we will go back to what Mr. Quinian said, just in the original article. The question is from a reader in California. I have been deputized by a small group of your readers and admirers to ask you a question. What is the meaning and the origin of phrase right as rain? Is it an aesthetically pleasing but essentially meaningless alliteration, or is rain really correct in some way? Michael Quinian says, it's an interesting question. Thank you for mentioning admirers. I'm more doubtful about the deputizing. Perhaps the next stage would have been to get up a posse. And I just wanted to read the whole thing because I love his answer there.
Wow.
He starts out by saying, perhaps surprisingly, there have been expressions starting right as since medieval times. And these are always in the sense of something being satisfactory, safe, secure, or comfortable. Early examples quoted as long ago as 1546 is right as a line. And that right might have had a literal sense of straightness, something desirable in a line. But it also clearly had a figurative sense of being correct or acceptable. There's an even older example from something called the Romance of the Rose of 1400, right as an adamant. An adamant is a magnet. There's been many others, right as a gun. I think it's still just like, maybe it's that a magnet would draw things in a line.
Yeah, directly.
Yeah.
In like as the crow flies, to use another idiom that we've covered that you probably deleted. That
was a rough one. Right as my leg.
I did that one.
No, I think I probably made it rough. It was when we were still figuring everything out.
As if we aren't now.
We're doing great. Right as my leg, right as a trivet, just from the 19th century, a trivet being a stand for a pot or kettle. So, I love it.
Okay.
About at the same time or a little later, people were saying that things were right as a ninepence, which I found that a lot.
What does that mean?
It's more British.
No.
Right as a book, right as nails, or right as the bank.
What?
A lot of
I'm
these.
confused about the right as the leg.
Okay, right as my leg.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe because your leg is straight if you're standing up. We can research that one further if you'd like.
No, it's just interesting. Of all of the things, it's like that's strange.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I want you to interrupt. He goes on to say that right as rain is a latecomer. So it might have appeared at the very end of the 19th century, but the first example he could find is from a book by Max Beerbohm called Yet Again in 1909. The quote is, he looked as himself would undoubtedly have said, fit as a fiddle or right as rain. His cheeks were rosy, his eyes sparkling. Since then, this version, right as rain, has almost completely knocked out all the others.
Right as a leg
is gone.
No longer?
It is no longer.
Dang it. Right as a ninepence?
Yes.
Dang.
I mean, you can say it if you want.
I'm going to.
Good. I'm glad.
But also, like with that one, the quote that you just mentioned, like that was talking about health.
Yes.
Right. Whereas the right as the first one that you mentioned, right as a corner or something like that, right as an angle.
Right as a line.
Right as a line, to me, I feel like doesn't necessarily reference health. Probably construction or something, something along
right.
Those lines.
It's true. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I threw you off.
I lost my train of thought. So it just says that it makes no more sense than the variants it has usurped, and is clearly just a play on words. So kind of like the bee's knees and all those that we've covered, where it's people just like to use alliteration and he says, though perhaps there's a lurking idea that rain often comes straight down, in a right line, to use the old sense.
Mm.
And to touch on that, I will say that I found a lot of references. I trust his the most, so that's what I'm citing here. But I did find a lot of places that wanted this to be that it's was chiefly British to start with, and that rain is so common in England that it to say it's right as rain means like you're frequently going to look outside and it will be raining.
Yes.
So it's right as rain.
Yeah.
On the plane, or whatever the saying is from the rain in Spain stays mainly on the plane. Okay. Is that My Fair Lady?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. I'm glad we both know that. The alliteration was undoubtedly why it was created and has helped its survival. As right and as ninepence has had a good run too.
Oh, really?
But it vanished even in Britain since we decimalized the coinage and since ninepence stopped being worth very much.
Oh, I wonder what it like. Right as a Benjamin, like, is that the modern day version of that? Modern US version of that? Like, what does that
have you ever heard that?
No, I'm just making.
Oh,
like, what does
I
that
don't know. I mean, it doesn't make any more sense than right as my leg.
Yeah, fair. Very fair point.
So that's that. It's kind of
Cool.
a simpler one in that I just cited this one source, but I believe him to be correct.
Yeah. Interesting that it goes back so far.
Yes. I completely agree. It's really cool. Or that those constructions go back so far, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we want to say right as blah, blah, blah. And I would even venture to say it's going to be interesting where this goes, because if it's changed this many times over time, then I feel like maybe in the future we'll say right as what's something else that's in a straight line that's going to be the wave of the future of straight lines.
The fire breathing up from the earth. When we no longer have rain.
I was going to go with some climate change related activity as well, but I didn't want to be too dark. I'm glad you did.
You're welcome. Yeah, I mean, once the earth runs out of rain, it's got to be something else.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and send you something. I want to go ahead and tell you who sings this first. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, Casey and I will frequently send each other songs that have to do with the idiom. So here you go, Casey.
Okay, who's this
This
by?
is from a little known artist named Adele. So I'd like you to read this in a way that you think it would be read aloud from an Adele song.
Well, she has that like kind of Cockney accent, and I can't do that.
Oh my God, please do.
No, I would need.
I don't mean you have to read it like Adele. I would like your impersonation of the mood of an Adele song.
I know, which makes me want to do the Cockney accent, which I can't do.
I'm sorry that I've put you in such a tight spot, Casey.
Yes. How could you inconvenience me so? Because who wants to be right as rain? It's better when something is wrong. I get excitement in my bones, even though everything's a strain. When night comes and I'm on my own, you should know I chose to be alone. Who wants to be right as rain? It's harder when you're on top, because when hard work don't pay off and I'm tired, there ain't no room in my bed, as far as I'm concerned. So wipe that dirty smile off. We won't be making up. I've cried my heart out, and now I've had enough.
Mm-hmm. It gets real sad.
Because who wants to be right as rain? It's harder when you're on top, because when hard work don't pay off and I'm tired, there ain't no room in my bed. I'm very confused by that.
There needs to be more punctuation, perhaps, and there's a lot of meandering that happens there.
Yeah. Huh.
So I think mostly it's saying like it's I think it's mostly kind of it's better when something's wrong because you know it more than like if everything's right, that it has to continue to be that way. I don't know. What's your interpretation of these lyrics?
I am just reading again.
It'll be a minute.
Who wants to be right as rain? This is just such a confusing set
We
of
can talk
words.
about it next week.
I would say like it's almost, well, because like, so wipe that dirty smile off. To me, that's like someone who's right constantly. They're just always right, which I'm always right. But I don't try to rub it in.
You're correct, Casey.
Yes. But I don't try to rub it in as much. So maybe she's just over that person always being right. She said,
I feel like
wipe that dirty smile off. We're not making up. I cried my heart out. I've had enough.
See, this is the accent that I wanted. This is the interpretation. Now you're getting into the character.
There's so many
Casey.
words, you know.
It's a lot of words. It was a lot,
and it just, a lot of them don't make sense.
It took so many turns. I didn't want to cut it off in the middle, but I don't know that it made any more sense that I gave you the whole thing. So there's right as rain.
Cool.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for participating in this.
Thank you. I'm going to send you an international idiom to make up for what you did to me.
If we weren't able to edit any of the 9,000 dings that my message program did when I opened it again, hopefully it won't when I do this. I don't know how to turn it off. Please tell me. All I know how to do is turn. Okay, thanks, Casey. Shton nastipiet si naucho. I said that in Russian. It's not Russian. I don't think it is. Oh, Polish. Okay.
Polish. Slavic language, right? Isn't it?
Okay.
So like, yeah. Did an elephant stomp on your ear? Is the literal translation from blog.ted.com.
Your secret source.
My secret source that you can't use for international idioms. It means that you don't have an ear for music.
Oh. Wow.
Apparently
this idiom is about me.
I mean, did you just hear me recreate Adele? There are apparently, from this same source, other versions of this in different languages. In Croatian, there's apparently another connection made between elephants and musical abilities with the phrase, you sing like an elephant farted in your ear. There's a Latvian version about a bear that stomps on your ear. All kind of meaning, put the microphone down.
Please don't do karaoke.
Please don't touch that piano.
Do we have one in English other than that's got an animal related to it? I can't think of one, but you didn't see one in your research?
I did about 5 seconds of research.
Cool. Okay. I'll try to think. We'll do some follow-up next week if either of us can think of an animal related music. You're not a musician idiom. Yeah. Thanks for that.
Truly
doing those 5 seconds of research, Casey.
You're welcome. It's my week off.
And you need a nap, as we know. You can email us about any of these things or an idiom that you'd like us to research at thelanguagelie@gmail.com.
Or you could slide into our DMs at thelanguagelie on Instagram and Facebook. And we also have a Patreon. Yeah. Did you and I both give us your money this week? Give us your money. That's patreon.com/thelanguagelie. Wow. All right. Y'all have a good week. Hey, thanks. Bye, y'all. Thanks. Bye.